All right, we have some pretty breaking news. The Boulder, Colorado terrorist, his wife and kids, they are now in federal custody. Okay, so as I make this video, the news only came out like minutes ago. We still have a lot of questions about Mohamed as far as his connections to the Muslim Brotherhood. That's being brought up. As far as what did his children and wife know, if this was all being planned for a year, as far as him wanting to do this terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Here's what we know so far. This is the most updated news on Mohamed.
Nick, that is the focus for the White House right now. And digging into the data this morning, there are hundreds of thousands of people who overstay the visa that he came in with every year. So in this case, with the Colorado suspect, he's an Egyptian national that came to the U.S. 3 years ago. He's been living in Colorado Springs with his wife and 5 children. He entered on a tourist visa in August 2022. That type of visa allows you to stay in the U.S. for 6 months. So 1 month later, he applied for asylum. So he's been living in the U.S. on an expired visa since February 2023. But in March 2023, you see here, he was granted a work permit, which expired in March of this year. According to a spokesperson for Uber, he worked as an Uber driver and had passed the company's eligibility requirements, which include a criminal background check. In 2023, around 314,000 people overstayed similar visas, tourist or other temporary visa. Some 2,400 were Egyptian nationals.
And again, the Trump administration is arguing this is Joe Biden's fault. The issue is how easy it was to go through the system. You come here as a tourist, now you're coming here to seek asylum. Years later, now you're committing a terror attack.
According to the criminal complaint, Soliman told investigators he would attack again if given the chance, Nick.
Kelly, with more than 314,000 people overstaying their visa, what is the White House vowing to do to stop that from happening again?
Yeah, and we know the Trump administration is doubling down on its illegal immigration crackdown. Secretary of State Marco Rubio writing in a warning to terrorists and terrorist sympathizers here on a visa, quote, under the Trump administration, we will find you, revoke your visa, and deport you. And as we mentioned, overstays on the visa are a challenge to find. The Department of Homeland Security revamping the ICE tip line and asking for the public's help. The White House placing the blame on the previous administration.
And again, the reason why it's so difficult right now to get any information on Soliman, he's already been in the country as technically documented, then went undocumented, thus illegal. So he was here illegally, legally, then back to illegally, then commits a terror attack, which he said he would do again. And again, he's been planning for a year. So the reason why Homeland right now is having a bit of issues is because there's a ton of others just like Mohamed. Maybe they're not going to commit a terror attack, but they are here illegally, but they were once here legally, and now we don't know where they are, which is why at this point, ICE has to just go after every single illegal immigrant when the original mission for ICE was just to go after the violent criminals in the prison systems. And again, Joe Biden allowed for so many illegals to come in. Now we have no choice but to go after every single illegal immigrant just in case we get another Mohamed situation in Colorado.
We're also tightening up our visa process and our legal immigration process. And we know that this individual, this terrorist, was allowed into this country by the previous administration, was foolishly given a tourism visa, and then was illegally allowed to stay. These individuals are going to be deported.
Okay, so as I make this video, it looks like the White House is actually in the middle of a press briefing, and they talked about Boulder, Colorado. Here's what they have to say about the situation. It looks like they are more so focusing on the media coverage of all of this.
The Attorney General and the FBI Director were very quick to call this what it was, targeted terrorism. And there was some, I think, criticism from the media and at least pundits I saw on television saying, are they too quick to jump here? No, they see the facts and they reveal those to the American people, and they're transparent. And I think, frankly, that's a breath of fresh air from what we experienced in the previous administration.
So again, the White House is really focusing on the narrative around this, how you had left-leaning media pundits essentially going in on the FBI and saying, how could you call this a terror attack? The FBI came out and said, how could you not call this a terror attack? Okay, we have some more breaking news as I make this video. I'm being told the family is being processed for expedited removal, which allows rapid deportation without a hearing before an immigration court and judge. If you're unaware, the United States is allowed to deport you immediately if you've been in the country illegally for more than 2 years and it's known you've been here illegally. We also have another development as far as this story. It looks like there might be a push to make the Muslim Brotherhood a terror organization. There are some members of Congress who are writing up legislation, possibly to pass a bill, again, to categorize the Muslim Brotherhood in the terror category, mainly because the Colorado terror suspect has praised the Muslim Brotherhood. He was a fan of theirs. People found his internet post where he's promoting the Muslim Brotherhood. And so this is becoming problematic for some members of government. I'm just trying to give you guys all of the news so you could have your own informed opinion on this. Now, this right here is the raw tape of the terror attack. Make sure you are listening to what he's saying because these are what these members of Congress are arguing in the FBI. This is a clear act of terror tied to certain ideologies.
We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can!
Not here!
We have to end Zionist!
Not here, bro!
So right there, as you know, the main accusation is he's yelling "End Zionist." You clearly heard that on the footage.
People are taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back.
Spraying alcohol.
Spraying alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
So he yelled, "Palestine is free." One thing I also want to point out, I haven't seen this before, you also even have fire right here on the ground. So again, when the FBI had access to all of this footage immediately, so that is why the FBI and the Trump administration was pushing back very harshly when people were questioning, how could you call this a terror attack? We don't know what this guy is intending or who he is.
And for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on.
if you are fighting, you have to
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov cocktails.
They are killers.
Get back, Mom.
Immediately went down. There's a very important detail in this story that, he's not denying anything as far as Mohammed is concerned. He fully admitted it. Again, he fully said he would do this again. You can hear him yelling stuff about Zionism and Palestine is free. And contextually speaking, this group meets here every week about the hostages over in the Israeli conflict between H group and Israelis. But anyway, the point is, when you see the raw footage and start to piece everything together, it's pretty clear to see what exactly is going on.
I saw the attacker have a Molotov. He had 3 Molotov cocktails.
This is a tourist, by the way, who showed up, and he just happened to be there.
One of them he threw inside of a group. At the group, and one lady lit on fire from head to toe. And then the other 4 people were also injured and in a fire, but not as bad as the first one. The attacker came out from the bushes and the trees the second time, and he threw another cocktail, and on the second one he lit himself on fire accidentally, and I imagine it's accidentally. He seemed to have a bulletproof vest on or some kind of vest, and then a shirt underneath it.
Let's go ahead and rewind and see if we can see that. Again, he's just trying to remember through all this chaos. So he has his shirt off here. No, obviously, maybe he saw something different, but that's not the case in the videos we're seeing.
I imagine it's accidentally. He seemed to have a bulletproof vest on or some kind of vest, and then a shirt underneath it. And after he lit himself on fire, he took off the vest and the shirt, and he was shirtless. But he still had his Molotov cocktails in his hand, ready to use them, like ready to throw them.
And what we know now in the report, there were 16 Molotov cocktails altogether. Again, this is 100% call a spade a spade. We know what this guy was doing. Now the question is, was he tied to an organization that could have either helped him out or encouraged him to do something like this? This seems to be the new direction in which this investigation is going in. Now here's Tom Homan talking about the situation, how an open border can create somebody who we can't track and ultimately commits an act of terror.
And I've said over and over again, what scares me about the southern border, the sex trafficking, right? Sky high. The Americans dying from fentanyl. the people, you know, all the drugs coming across, all the sex trafficking, all the smuggling. And I said what concerned me the most was they created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. Not only did 2 million known gotaways, 2 million people cross the border, we don't know who they are, where they came from, we don't know where they are now. On top of that, even through the legal process, the Biden administration were bringing people unvetted, handing out work visas like they're candy, while they sat here and planned something bad.
And like we saw, it wasn't even a work visa, it was a tourist visa, then he came in for asylum, and then it was a work visa, overstayed, and now we have this. But the problem is, you had an open border where anybody could have done this. We don't know if there's other Mohammeds out there who are planning the same exact thing.
We are going to be dealing with this for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Because of the chaos they created in 4 years. We're out there kicking butt. We're arresting a lot of criminal aliens. We're out there looking for the bad guy. And when we're out there doing that, Sean, we got protesters assaulting ICE officers. We got members of Congress all over the country going to ICE facilities, raising hell, saying this is their oversight responsibility. Where were their oversight responsibility when 10.5 million illegal aliens came across the border?
And that's what we are assuming the number is. And again, here's the challenge. A good amount of those illegal immigrants, in the 3 millions, have papers to leave the country, but they haven't left, to include this guy right here, whose family is being deported. So that's the big complication right now for ICE, is that, generally speaking, now they have to go into sanctuary cities where you have protesters, members of Congress, mayors, like I cover all the time on this channel. They are demonizing Homeland Security for trying to find other Mohammeds. The problem is, you can't just find a violent criminal. You gotta pick everybody out. Even if it's a old grandma who's just here quietly trying to live her life, it doesn't matter. Everybody now is on this list for DHS as far as deportations. And now that everything has been escalated to a worst case scenario where we have an act of terror and we can see how somebody was able to exploit the system, now the gloves are off for the Trump administration. Everyone's getting deported at this point as far as illegal immigrants.
Where's the oversight responsibility on releasing over 8 million illegal aliens to this country? Where's the oversight responsibility then? This is an attack on ICE. This is an attack on the Trump administration. We're trying to fix the damage done by Biden.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to keep updating you on this Mohammed situation because it directly ties into these deportations and how ICE is going to be operating here on out. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.